So now Lauren's just gonna kind of douse this. She's gonna bathe this bird. Bathe the bird.
It's getting a nice bath.
Yeah, there we go, right? So just, oh my gosh, that's perfect.
They could smell this.
So we're gonna pop this into a 375 degree oven.
That bad boy.
Oh yeah. Okay, now look at this heat, right? So what I'm actually going to do is that I am now going to take this bird, okay? I'm gonna take it off the rack and I'm gonna put it onto our cutting board and let it cool. So look at this, look at this. That nice crispy skin on there.
I hate Gruel. I'm always starving every time I look at every time I watch American Gravy, every time he posts something on X, even if I've just eaten, I just end up sitting there. I almost drooled just now. Joining me now, host of American Gravy, which you can watch right here on the First TV, the great chef Andrew Gruel. Okay, chef, tell us about the show.
We're just going through the classics. I mean, it's really easy, approachable, simple, crave-worthy food. Nothing too over-intellectual about it. You know, I'm not trying to redefine anything, but get everybody in the kitchen, understand it a little bit more. That's our goal.
Okay, chef, first of all, turkey, as you know, I'm not going to go into it. Everyone knows it's not my thing. I'm very loudly against it. But there are a bunch of people with no standards watching this show who are going to have turkey. And you have, from what I understand from my producer, the ultimate way to prepare it. He made it the way you said last year and said it was the best thing he's ever eaten in his life. So I will reluctantly hand you the floor. How should all these savages prepare their turkey?
All right, so you got to do the dry brine. And that's actually when you salt the bird 24 hours ahead of time, put it in the refrigerator uncovered, right? Because what you're doing is you're drying the exterior of the bird out. That's creating a pellicle, which means you can get crispier skin on the bird, which is really what makes the bird, or at least to some degree. So do the dry brine for 24 hours. Then when you get the bird out, right, you want to cut that, like I'm doing right there. You want to cut the backbone out of the bird, flip it over and press it down so it's flattened. It's called spatchcocking. I repeat, it's called spatchcocking, and that is where the bird is flattened. It cooks evenly. Your legs are tender, meltingly tender, if you will, and your breasts cook at a better rate so that they're not dried out by the time the legs are cooked, and your bird is going to be crispier. Plus, it takes you like half the time it would if you did that big round bird. So once again, sea salt or any salt, dry brine, split the bird, press it down, and then roast it at a high temp. That's it.
Spatchcocking. I bet you that's how Kamala Harris prepares her. Tell us about costs in the food industry, because everyone complains now, understandably so. Restaurant menus have been pared down. I don't know, they took my favorite item off. Food's gotten more expensive. Cost you $100 to take family of 4 to Red Lobster anymore. And people are just frantic about it. Why have the costs gone up so high in the food industry?
It's multi-causal. I mean, it's pretty complex, but first and foremost, inflation, right? And fuel costs. So when fuel costs go up, all the food prices are going to go up, because if I buy a product, right, it takes 6 different trucks for it to be delivered to me. So you've got that element, and then you've also got all these supply chain disruptions overseas, Ukraine. People ask, well, why does what's happening in Ukraine affect my food costs here? Well, we rely so much on the global market for our food, which is why I think the tariffs are so important, because we bring a lot of it back home. Then when you've got these conflicts overseas, it's not going to affect our food prices here. So the big 3, food prices are it's fuel cost, it is inflation generally, and then it's any international event that's affecting these.
Chef, the American consumer, I realize DoorDash and Uber Eats and things like that has really, really changed the restaurant industry, but restaurants haven't gone away. How does it change things for restaurants?
Well, DoorDash and Uber Eats, they take 30% of all of the sales. So you're only increasing revenue but not profit when you use DoorDash or Uber Eats. And it's been this necessary evil, and they consolidate at the top. Now, they don't make any money. All they're doing is that they're taking investor money in order to increase their size of business and almost act in a mafioso style to make the restaurants use them. So the restaurants feel as if it's necessary. The next guy does it, and the next guy does it, then they all got to do it. The pandemic consolidated that process by which they really kind of took hold of restaurants. Now, I'm a principled guy. I'll throw the baby in the bathwater, all of it away, however the cliche goes. I don't use any of those third-party delivery outlets because screw them. And if I go under because of it, well, then I'll just end up washing dishes for the rest of my life. But they're pretty evil, I'm not going to lie.
Tell me about no taxes on tips.
No tax on tips. It's the best thing that can happen for the United States. And let me tell you why. Number one, you're removing taxes for a huge sector of an industry. That in and of itself on principle is great because it's dominoes. You do that for one industry, then as goes in America, well, why can't I get that done for my industry? Well, let's go ahead and do it for your industry. So let's just remove taxes altogether. But the thing about the no tax on tips from a payroll perspective is that 15 to 20% of my total payroll amount is the tips on the waiters and waitresses the taxes on their tips. Excuse me, got my mix all talked up here. So when you're actually cutting those taxes for the server, you're also cutting it for the business. That saves me upwards of 6 figures a year. So you're putting more money in the server's pocket, which is more money they can spend in the economy. And then you're making my payroll more consistent. Because the thing is, I don't know how much they're going to make in tips every week. So let's say Joe Schmo makes $5,000 extra in tips and I got to pay 25% payroll taxes on that. Well, my payroll this week just jacked up $1,500, right? So it screws the business, it screws the worker, and it's the right thing to do to remove them altogether.
I like it. Chef, thank you so much. Everybody go watch American Gravy right here on The First. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.